Today I'm going to tell you about everything you need to know about new Sooners defensive analyst Bob Diaco and all that's coming up after the bumper.
What do you mean you don't subscribe to my son's YouTube channel?
Mama, no!
Just snap the damn ball, RJ.
What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. That back there says Buy, Let It Bang. That's my book. You can pre-order on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Hudson Books, IndieBound, Powell's, wherever you get books. Go to your bookstore, tell them to order it, they'll bring it to you. Alright, so now let's get into defensive analyst Bob Diaco. Kerry Murdoch over at Sooner Scoop broke the news earlier this morning that former Nebraska defensive coordinator Bob Diaco is going to serve as the defensive analyst for the Oklahoma Sooners. In addition to being defensive coordinator in Nebraska, Diaco was also defensive coordinator at Notre Dame and a head coach for the UConn Huskies. That means that Lincoln now has 3 former head coaches on his coaching staff. Not too shabby thing. So the first thing that we need to tackle is, what is a defensive analyst? Well, what it really is manpower and brain power. As former Alabama Crimson Tide offensive analyst Steve Sarkisian put it, we watch a lot of tape, we try to game plan, and we offer up the best advice we can to the staff. Then it's more like they sit back and they analyze how the team is performing. This is on a week-to-week basis. You might also know that the NCAA allows 10 coaches to be on the coaching staff. It also allows for 4 graduate assistant coaches to be on the staff. Graduate assistants must be working toward a graduate degree, and they're all generally aspiring coaches. Graduate assistants are allowed to work with players on the field and during practice. But the bulk of a graduate assistant's work is also in the film room. At schools like Alabama, Clemson, and now Oklahoma, you're including coaches now that don't carry a whistle. Those are your analysts. Nick Saban has been able to go get recently fired head coaches and put them on his staff at Alabama, and then later promote them. His new offensive coordinator, Mike Locksley, was a former coach at New Mexico, former offensive coordinator at Maryland, before he became an offensive analyst at Alabama, and eventually their offensive coordinator. He also did the same thing with Steve Sarkisian, and he seems to be doing the same thing with former Tennessee coach Butch Jones. Now, generally, analysts make between $45,000 and $90,000 a year. So why would a head coach take that kind of pay cut? Well, if he's recently fired, the school that fired him is paying his buyout. So that's money that Oklahoma doesn't have to kick in. They only have to pay him the 50 grand. And in the case of like a Butch Jones at Alabama, Tennessee is on the hook for the rest of the $8.1 million that they owe Butch Jones, and Alabama gets him for cheap. Meanwhile, Butch Jones gets to keep coaching and eventually move back up the coaching ranks. That's essentially the role that Diaco is going to be playing for OU. Diaco is 45 and has been coaching since 1996. In 2012, he won the Frank Broyles Award, which is given to the top assistant coach in college football, as the defensive coordinator at Notre Dame for Brian Kelly. You might also note Lincoln Riley won this award. While at Notre Dame, he famously turned around Brian Kelly's Notre Dame defense and helped lead the Fighting Irish to not only a win against the Sooners in Norman, but an eventual national title appearance where they got destroyed by Alabama. But you get the point. Now, Diaco was released from Nebraska after they went 4-8 under Mike Riley, and before that, he was 11-26 as the head coach at UConn. So he ain't got a great head coaching record, but he does have ties to the Stoops, as he went to Iowa too, where he played linebacker. It was also his first grad assistantship. From there, he took the directional school route. He began at Western Illinois, then Western Michigan, then Eastern Michigan, then Central Michigan, before landing at Cincinnati in 2009, as Brian Kelly's defensive coordinator. Now, it's worth wondering aloud if Diaco is on staff to add further pressure to Mike Stoops, or if you're a Mike Stoops apologist, Mike Stoops is being surrounded with everybody imaginable to make this defense amazing. Diaco's hiring also signals that Oklahoma is not moving away from the 3-4. That's Diaco's base defense. In fact, Diaco's defense looks a lot like legendary Sooners coach Bud Wilkinson's 52 front. And I'm going to have a picture of it here. This is the same defense that Diaco ran at Notre Dame when Manti Catfish was his middle linebacker, and they held teams to an average of 11 points a game. You can also see clues in what Mike Stoops has said about the personnel switching. In this 3-4 Okie front, this 50 front, you can see the Mike and the Will are in the middle of the defense. That'd be Kenneth Murray at the Mike, the middle linebacker position, and Caleb Kelly at the Will, the weak side linebacker position. What Diaco calls a banker, we call a jack. That's Addison Gums, Mark Jackson, that position. And then the Sam linebacker is that Ryan Jones, Curtis Bolton character. From all of this, we know that Mike Stoops is being given more and more help, and Lincoln Riley has been amazing at recruiting coaches into the fold at Oklahoma and finding ways to get them in the film room and to get them analyzing his defense and his offense. Kudos to Lincoln Riley. He's out here making moves. All right, that's it for me. If you like the videos, don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you tomorrow. Deuces.